Prairieland Partners Incorporated is a John Deere agricultural equipment dealership specializing in large ag, turf, and integrated solution products. Prairieland has 9 stores in south central Kansas and more than 250 employees. Prairieland maintained a strong business position and has completed a total store remodel in its Winfield location. Continued growth, we will be adding Honda products to our offerings. Also, an expansion of the Marion location is planned. St. Luke Hospital, providing state-of-the-art healthcare services to meet all your needs. St. Luke was recently remodeled in 2012 to include a new physical therapy area, a new patient care area, as well as a beautiful new entrance. It also has a current CT scanner to provide your scanning needs. St. Luke Hospital, right here at home, right here for you.
Call meeting to order. To stand, say the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we call this as being our public hearing for our 2014 budget hearing. And at this time I'd like to have any comments from the public. Questions? Any here from the public? Is Mr. Newfield, do you want to be the public or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
No?
I mean, I am public, but I didn't need to hear from you at this point.
Well, I have a few questions, but I'll keep them on until we discuss them in our regular agenda. Not hearing any comments. Does the council have anything?
Madam Mayor, I move we adjourn the public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we adjourn the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. And I'll call the regular meeting to order, and since we've just said the flag salute, we'll just consider that being done. Looking at our agenda, are there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve the agenda.
I do have one. Down on number 14, I do have a resignation from Mr. Johnson that will be first. So that'd be 14A, and then the appointment will be after that.
Okay, well, so does she have a...
Anything else?
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
So
sir.
the appointment of 14, is that to Park Board or Planning
The
Commission?
Planning Commission.
Okay, so this will be the resignation of the position on the Park Board.
Park Board, did I say Park? No, Park
You may
Board.
have, you just said his name.
Well, okay, this is for the Planning Commission. I do have his resignation.
Planning Commission or Park?
Planning Commission. Planning Commission.
You have 2 resignations.
I have one, but did I say Park Board as well?
Well, you asked you asked to amend the agenda for a resignation of Mr. Johnson, which is Park Board, or Cemetery Board.
Cemetery Board.
So you want a resignation of the Cemetery Board, but an appointment to the
That's
Planning
it.
Commission? Okay.
All right, that was what I needed to add, isn't it? Okay, Cemetery Board. Oh, why did that do that? Okay, and I
So
think
we're
this-
going to do the Planning Commission appointment
No,
first?
that just need to be added then, I guess.
Okay.
Resignation.
14A.
Well, it can be 14B now, I suppose, since it doesn't pertain to that board. It belongs to the cemetery. Yep, it's the cemetery board. So, we'll have that 14B for resignation.
So is there a 14A?
Will be just what it says. Okay.
That's an appointment to the Planning Commission?
The planning commission is Chad. He's already resigned. And so we need to have his place filled, and so I was thinking about that too, I guess. But we do have to get someone on our cemetery board, and he has given his resignation. Any other? Motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second by Chris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Our consent agenda. Do we have any that needs to be pulled for further discussion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Number 4. Ms. Roseman.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. What I have before you is consideration for payment of construction estimate number 1 for Middle Creek in the amount of $42,058. That basically is the material, the lift station. And so what I have done is I have split it out for $15,000 to be paid by CDBG and the balance of $27,058 to be paid by KDH&E, so I can keep the percentages according to the grant award in line. So would need a motion to approve pay estimate number 1 to Middle Creek Mining and have the mayor sign the request for funds.
For Middle Creek what?
Middle Creek Corporation.
Okay. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jerry down here. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0.
When are they starting?
I just is September the 9th is the anticipated start date. It's what we discussed at the pre-construction conference last week, and substantial completion roughly at basically the end of the year. So it's
Weather pending,
pending.
but that's the plan.
September the 9th is what you got here.
Right, that's when he plans to start. You know, if it's not until Tuesday or Wednesday that week that he mobilizes to get here, then that's when it would be. But that's the week that he's planning on starting.
If we have rains like we continue to have, would it be?
The next 10 days are dry.
Let's
Well,
hope that
that's,
it happens.
Yeah. So I will.
Right, cool.
And
It's the lift station.
it's here.
It's here.
If you want to see it, you can drive by and see it up at the city shop. It's set up
I
there.
was curious.
It's in the best shape it's ever going to be right now.
The lift stations here, obviously the manholes
Yeah.
and pipe are not.
Or what?
The manhole that it's going to set on,
Yeah.
it's not, and the other manholes aren't, and the pipe's not. So the only thing that's here so far is the physical lift station itself. Yep.
6 by 20. Is that just like a big sonotube?
No, it'll be just like your other manhole that's sectioned.
And one more.
Concrete?
It's just regular 6 foot
I
instead of.
think you just drop a PVC sonotube.
Thank you
Good.
very much.
It's
That's
cheaper
all
to
I
do.
That it?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, because these are all pre-cast. So these
That's
are.
concrete.
Doug, do I have
Did
anything
they-
for you to sign, for me
Did
to
they-
sign for you right now for,
I'll get it tomorrow morning.
okay. All right, let's go on to number 5 then.
Is that me, Mayor?
Yeah, it is.
That's you.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to talking. I'm sorry. Now moving on to your other CDBG project, one of the things that we have not done to this point is actually had a contract between the city and EVH for any of the street planning or street design or any of that other. So what I'm bringing for you tonight is our contract between the city of Marion and us for the street, which includes not only the CDBG portion, but also, if you look at item number 3 down there on the front of your first page, it's also for the portion that's going to be bond only, but not CDBG over here around the courthouse on 4th and Williams. So this is the design and construction engineering fees for all of these street
Are we
projects.
planning Williams Street then?
Pardon?
Are we planning Williams Street
Yes.
then?
It'll go up a bit also.
Okay.
or some form of getting prices for multiple contractors, yes.
So this, in your contract there, this is split between us and the county, is that correct? Or do we?
Right now, our contract is only with you.
Okay.
Whatever funds you get back from the county, that's between you and the county.
Okay,
I mean, our contract's just with you as the one local entity. Whatever agreement for both the construction funds and engineering funds, that's whatever you can get back from that. What you'll see, we have multiple dollars in there, and the design service in both those sections, that's a lump sum, is how we've written this contract up. The construction staking is purely hourly, with the not to exceed of the numbers you see in here, and same thing with the construction services. If we don't have to use any of the staking, we won't, but it kind of depends on which contractor gets the bid as to how much staking we have to do. Same thing with construction services. There are certain contractors out there that we might have to be on site with a lot more than others. So the construction services fees are based on us being out there as needed, when needed,
up to that amount.
hourly up to that amount. And we will keep it as cost economical for the city. If we don't need to be out there, we won't be out there. But I want to make sure it's done right. So we'll be out there as much as needed to make sure it's done right. But at the same time, I'm not going to put somebody out there 8 hours a day unless we get a contractor that needs babysitting for 8 hours a day.
And they better be pretty low.
It's what?
Then the bid better be pretty low if any basis.
Exactly, right.
Oh.
That's right. But it does vary contractor to contractor, so.
So when I added the numbers for all of it at the max, it comes up to 182,500.
Right. And what I would say based on prior experience with the contractors that I see that are bidding so far, that we've sent plans to on this, you know, we're probably gonna do about half of that, is where I would really guess we're gonna end up. But I want to build in a worst case scenario for you, because what I'd hate to do is, if you guys don't have the bonding capacity to help pay for our bill as it goes along, and I have to come back to you and say, well, you gotta come up with funds, or I'm not sitting around a job, and you really need somebody watching it, you know, I hate to do that later on. So I'd rather give you worst case scenario, and then be able to come back and say, hey, you know, we didn't need to set out there that much.
Is it usually that you have to do that? That you'd have to be sitting out there staking it off?
We prefer on these type of projects to stake our own, do our own staking, yes. Because then we know that it's getting done right, and we sit there and we help the contractor stake it. So that we know they understand how to get it right. Now, for example, if Davey gets this, okay, that's, you know, Davey understands a lot of this. And
Well,
he's
that's
out there
what I
doing
was
his own.
wondering.
But at the same time, if somebody else would get this, that sometimes they put guys on site that think they can make water run uphill. So,
You know, that's kind of what I found.
we'll enter hydraulic pressure of itself.
In some of
Or if the wind's blowing.
I would have been a little bit disturbed if I would have been the engineer and somebody come along and changed it.
Well, and that's the other thing we do, is we make sure that nobody's changing it on us, and therefore it doesn't work how you and us have got it all planned out. So,
Okay.
I have a question on
Yes, sir.
section 5, ownership of documents.
oh, gotcha, okay, yes.
So do you provide documents to the city for their own
Right.
reference later on?
Everything that we give you electronic copies of everything. This is something, and back here in this standard section, if there's a clause that you would prefer us to look at getting rid of at some point in the future, we can do that back here on this section. This is, we start out with these as our standards. What we do as a general rule is we provide everything that we do throughout the course of the planning, design, construction, everything. You have electronic copies of it. You will have electronic copies of it if you don't already. Okay, so you have those. We purely put this in there so that what has happened to us in the past is, let's say 2 years down the road, the city of Marion hires another engineering firm, and the engineering firm walks in and gets copies of this electronic documents you have because you give them over to them, and then they just turn around and use them. So it's just a way of us protecting our, what do they call it, proprietary intellect. I think is what the legal
Intellectual property.
Intellectual property, right.
Uh,
So it's not that we don't give you copies, but for legalese purposes, our liability company says, hey, you should maintain ownership.
So there won't be any paper copies?
No, there are paper copies. Right now, if you walk out, the bid documents are here in paper. But we provide everything electronically also, so that there's an archive. We'll give them to you in whatever format you want. You don't want, in the future, you don't want all this stacks of paper sitting around that take up dust collection and
Whatever works
everything
for
else.
the staff,
Right. Right now, we give paper when paper is needed, everything else we archive electronically and get to you.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
When is this wedding?
We were just talking about that.
12th.
September 12th is what we're scheduled for right now.
September 12th?
Yes.
September the 12th, and then I will be back here on the 16th with the bond sale results.
And we already got the money from you to pay him, right?
No.
No.
No, and we have not submitted any invoices on this yet, and we will not until your bonds are in place.
Oh, okay, because I took it back.
That was for the Jack Stewart.
No, that
Yeah, that
was
was for the
sewer.
Jack,
And that was
that
actually the
I
con-
understand
that was the
but I don't
contract.
know what I read here. You know,
What we do here is we will not submit an invoice to you until you have your bonds in place to where you can be reimbursed for any bills we submit.
CDBG will also have to be ready to take draws too.
well, is,
Not that CDBG though, unfortunately.
well, is,
The next one.
they had to finish the environmental review first and foremost before any draws could be done at all. So you needed clearance from CDBG, which you received, if I remember right, at the end of June. That unless you had the funds on hand, you wouldn't be paying EBH until the bond money's ready.
So that's why we hold our invoices until the bonds are in place for it.
that's good.
Yeah, it's nice to do.
No, we do that. You'll find that, and that's what we did on the other CDBG
Yeah.
project. We did not submit any of our invoices until, on the Jack Stewart, until the bonds were in place.
Another question.
Yes, sir.
Are we going to be able to do all the streets on this list?
As of right now, everything you see in section 1, which is that A to Y,
Yes.
that's the plan. Now, the question is, how we got this set up to bid is within A to Y there, we have two scenarios. We have scenario A, which is the base bid, which is the worst parts of all those streets. And then add alternate 1 is all of all those streets that are listed on here and intersections. So my hope is that we get add alternate 1. If we get the same bid prices we've seen in the last 4 or 5 months on some projects, we will get add alternate 1. If we see something that I don't see coming from these contractors, we might only get the base bid. That'd be worst case scenario. However, what I will try to come in and recommend to you guys, even if we're a little shy on money, because we have this latitude under the contract, is come in and even if add alternate 1 is a little higher than what we have on, go ahead and award add alternate 1, but then do an immediate change order back down to the amount that we actually have. So that's one thing we have to play with a little bit. Now, best case scenario, the sections under 2 were the next pieces on that street list. So we went ahead and included them just in case we get great bid prices. Not only can we award add alternate 1, which is all these top streets, we can go ahead and do the next ones too. And that way you can go ahead and use your full bonding capacity. So we built multiple scenarios to give you, to try to get the best bang for the
How
buck
do
out of your
you
dollars.
get bids on that?
They're add alternate bids. So when I open the bids on that Thursday, we'll actually be looking at 3 numbers from each contractor. And what I'll come back to this body with though is just one recommendation.
Right.
And,
So-
For one contractor, one.
and the office has a complete set of those bid documentations, both the book and the drawing, so if you want to review them.
Right, if you want to come in and take a look at how we broke it down within each street, the drawings are here, or you can meet us at the office and we go through them electronically over at the office or on paper.
And 3 is a sure thing.
That's,
That's an option on the bid.
no, section 3, which is the 4th and Williams.
Oh. But
Jerry
that is
is
on the bid.
Well, it's a separate bid.
Yeah, separate bid.
Because that's no CDBG money.
Correct.
It's part of the bond, but it's not part of the,
$400,000
CDBG.
matching.
Correct.
Right.
But we gotta have enough bond cover.
It was anticipated that we would.
If it's still handled like was originally planned to be set up to
And we
handle.
have it set up to, this what we published the dollar value on to be able to do it all.
That was the reason for the increase.
Correct. And that's still with the county doing the removal, the city doing the haul, or, I'm sorry, the city doing the removal and the haul, county doing the base work, plus the additional cash. So the cash additional is not figured yet.
The bond portion of it that's figured in on, for the bid purposes, the paving surface.
Darren,
But we don't know what the county's gonna pay.
Yes, sir.
What is this section one? What are you gonna really do? Freeburn, Lawrence, Maine, Freeburn, you know, all that.
Most of these, you'll see some intersections. And anytime
I see
there's, anytime it's listed as an intersection, basically that intersection gets the entire intersection new pavement. And if there's a valley gutter there now, whether it's in brick, whether it's in concrete, whether it's in asphalt, we're replacing that valley gutter with concrete.
So that's mostly what it is.
And then at those intersections, we're also replacing the curb anywhere where it touches a new valley. Those are for sure. In all these blocks that are listed, we're basically replacing, we're taking out the asphalt, taking out a little bit of soil, putting a crushed base in, and then new 6-inch pavement. That's, now, we're not always replacing curb and gutter. What we did is we went out and found any place that might have a sunk spot and curb and gutter was holding water. We are replacing some of those areas. But as a general rule, like say if we're down Freeborn, the curb and gutter for the most part is in pretty good shape. It's got some isolated bad spots. We're going to replace the isolated bad spots, but we're not replacing it all. Conversely, if you look at right out here in front of this building, we're replacing all the curb in this block because the curb is the biggest part of the problem. So yes, come by and I can show you the plans. We can go block by block and I can show you exactly what we're talking about where. But that's, as a general rule of thumb, we're replacing the street pavement, some curb and gutter, we get to the intersections, almost the entire intersection.
When is the earliest start date? December?
As soon as we can get approvals and they can go. We did not set a mandatory start date. We're allowing contractors to bid on their schedule.
But we have the bonds that aren't sold yet.
They will be on the 16th, the morning of the 16th.
Of September?
Typically, the fastest we can process the contract documents, they can get their insurance stuff to the courthouse, we can get the performance bonds filed. The soonest any contractor could realistically start is at least probably 3 weeks. I mean, that's
So we're looking at October 1st.
right.
Probably.
Right, at least. Most of them are probably going to be at least October 15th, maybe even November 1st. So then it just becomes,
I don't know about the rest of the council, but I get a lot of questions. When is this project going to start?
and quite honestly, then we start looking at weather and seeing exactly what we want to allow them to have open when.
I can see you tearing that whole street up and nothing.
Well,
Get 6
exactly.
weeks of wet.
Well, that's exactly why, you know, if we see anticipated weather like we've had the last 2 months, we might only let them have half a block at a time or
Okay.
something. So that we're moving at a little bit slower pace, but something manageable from a weather standpoint. We're not knocking out 4 blocks of Freeborn with one rainstorm.
Boy, that'd be getting
Yeah,
people riled up.
Yeah, I live here, I don't want people on my
I
doorstep.
think that was done up there on
So,
Cedar Street at one time. So, hate to do it that way.
so we've got it set up to be manageable.
Back to the motion.
Okay, all the questions? Chris, you have any? Okay,
I move we accept the contract.
one second. Okay, we moved and seconded, we accept this contract. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Darren. Number 6.
I'm here just to get approval of ordinance 1358 for the new standard traffic ordinances for Kansas City. So each year, we have to update the STO book because there's different things in legislature that go on and they start changing things. So we have to get new books to follow, so we can write travel tickets.
Angela, I've got a question for you. When we're doing this type of thing, are we looking at our ordinances and things like we should be in setting this up?
When we pass an ordinance like this, we typically repeal the one that we approved the year before. So the ones that we had before are being repealed so that the newest book is the one we're following under this ordinance.
So that's set in here, oh yeah, the repeal of all of them, okay. That's what I was
Is
just.
this standard operation?
Yeah, I do it every year.
Every year.
So next year, I'll be seeing you about the same time again.
What did it change his time?
There's just, like, it might be the wording in something, or, I mean, it might be just like the littlest thing. Usually it's wording.
One-
It
One of
sounds
the-
like it's something to keep bureaucrats busy.
I guess so.
For an example, they changed the definition, they changed, instead of using prostitution, they did sexual contracts or something like that, so that they would actually be able to prosecute under a different set of rules. So, and there's small nuances they change every year. And the only thing on the local standpoint that we did change, and that was by request of the police department and approved by the city attorney, is we did remove the continuation fee, which was on the last one, but we removed the $30 continuation fee under section 5.
And I did speak with the legal municipalities, and they had never heard of that, and they thought it would be best if we removed them, and I agree with them. Because I don't think you can charge someone for requesting some tickets in their case. $30.
And these are all standard fees that are in here.
The standard fee, yeah.
Is that dictated by the state or is that set by the double check area?
I think the court cost is set by us,
Yes.
but everything else, and the probation fee is set by us. However, I'm going to say that we really don't put anyone on probation, but if we would, we'd start to collect that, and that would go towards somebody's salary, which would be on probation. Everything else is fairly standard. And I think actually they're the same as all the other cities in Marion County.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, I'm here to approve ordinance 1358.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Chris. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Thank you, Todd.
But I also need to do number 7, approval of ordinance 1359 for the UPOC books, which would be like the basic, it outlines what like a battery or assault or criminal damage, same thing, and they changed some wording in it, so they pop these out. So.
But section 2 is in addition to the states.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, it's like the county, they go by KSAs, the cities go by UPOCs and STOs.
But the curfew is that's what we've had in the past, or is that
Yeah.
going to change it?
I don't think really anything in that book changed.
If you're having any troubles with any of these that you have to tell the kids about very often, about your air guns and so forth there, I think that should be brought up with them
Yeah,
once in a while.
we've been having fun lately with that kind of thing, that's for sure. I'll address that later.
Well, I thought that might be something we should maybe hit up on here a
Yeah.
bit. Anybody else have any questions? Motion. Move to accept ordinance 1359.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Chris and seconded by Jerry. Is there further questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Ms. Angela?
Because even though when we approved or looked at the budget, we didn't increase the mill rate, the actual amount of tax dollars that we're getting is increased increased over last year. So in order for you to approve a budget like that, we first have to approve an ordinance that would authorize you to increase the tax levy dollars that we would receive. That's what this ordinance 1360 is. This is an ordinance that the state puts out, and we just modify it to meet the city of Marion.
Any questions before we take a motion? Motion?
So there's not very much increase in dollars.
It's really not.
$2,000.
Correct, but if there's any kind of increase at all, we have to pass the ordinance.
You have to pass an ordinance.
Correct.
So we think, money then.
I move to approve ordinance number 1360.
Second. Okay, it's been moved by Todd and seconded by Chris. Any further questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0.
Now that you've passed that ordinance, if you have any questions about the 2014 budget that has been presented,
I guess maybe I should probably go ahead and ask this question because Mr. Holder and I have been discussing the city planning administrator. How do we plan for that for next year? Or have you?
The planning commission has its own separate line item on the general fund budget line. It included $4,000 for salaries, and as you will be seeing later on the appointment of the zoning administrator position, I did put in the packets a memo suggesting and actually requiring that the line item associated with salaries for the planning and zoning commission be added to the compensation for the individual that takes the zoning administrator's position.
How did that become for salaries? When I first talked about that with the planning commission, that it was just for consultation or what they might have, or
right. It's basically for paying for additional assistance on the planning or zoning commission that may need additional internal or outside assistance in addressing issues associated with zoning.
So how did it come from taking Marty's place?
within the budget, it's always been called salaries, because if we use a contract, we would also just list it under there, but we just kept it as a general title, salaries.
And they have looked at that budget and have approved that to be changed to salaries?
This has not changed from last year's. Then we have
No, it was 4,000 for 2013 also.
Okay, but they would approve that it could be used for that particular item, correct?
Planning Commission does not address this issue of the use of those funds for this.
Don't they have to have a little bit of say-so on using those funds or not?
They don't have the
Commission is just-
authority.
Excuse me?
I apologize. Planning Commission, as appointed in our city, is an advisory board. All they have is the role of an advisor. They have no binding direction on funding, control of funding, or allocation.
Okay, but they do have in their bylaws that they're to submit a budget. And so when they submit that budget, was it submitted with that agreement or that type of a use for their budget or not?
The $4,000 line item was used and was approved or accepted, at least in this 2013 budget year that we're in right now, as being a line item that can be used to assist in the Planning and Zoning Commission activities associated with their enforcement of our zoning regulations.
Okay, so are we going to have a job description for this particular thing, since it was designated to Marty and did not have any monetary value? Is that going to have to happen so that he or she would have to have some kind of a job description in order to receive that pay?
Madam Mayor, I understand where you're going, but I don't think that's germane to the budget discussion. The $4,000 would be, I think what you're going to need
Right,
to be
but then
done somewhere else in the meeting, if we're going to do that.
So So I just wanted to make that clear, though, that I didn't think that that was, when they made that budget, they thought it was going to be used to pay the administrator.
Perhaps that could be something discussed on line item 13 of the agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
but right now you're saying it for purposes of 2014, it would be used out that way as well, correct?
That is what's budgeted in the 2014 budget, yes.
Just as now, and we haven't spent any of that, and it's up to the council, if we're going to appoint somebody and pay them, that's where it would come out of the current budget line item.
I would agree with that statement.
And additionally, they do not have any, the planning commission does not have any spending authority. They have to make a request, even though we set up a budget, they have to request in addition to what we might do with that budget. Is that
That would be correct.
correct?
That would be correct up to the point that I think they still had to submit that budget with the understanding that they might be the ones that would say how it should be used as well. Now, have they been instructed that this is the way it's going to be used?
No, they have not.
Okay, that answers my question. All right, any other questions?
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the 2014 budget as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and approved and seconded. It's moved to approve and seconded. I do have one other question, and Mr. Holter's salary right now as the economic director has been put forth at the same amount as he had for this year or what?
No,
Okay, so it's been increased.
it has been.
How did that slip by me? You know, this has been my concern all along. We've had a city administrator that was
It's the
hired.
The 2%.
No, well, that part of it maybe, but then we now have a city had an economic director. So what has that been set at now?
He's still at what he was hired at. We just budgeted a 2% increase for next year along
Okay,
with all
so that
full-time
particular
employees.
2% is going to come out from city budget, right? City funds.
Yes.
Okay, I have to do that because I do have tax people that have been asking me how he's going to get paid. And we had the discussion with a group of people that I did talk to at the beginning when we were talking about getting an economic director. And we were talking about how the city was going to be funding it this way, and perhaps there was another entity going to have to come up with some money to help support that position. And I don't see that happening yet. Is there any move for that at all?
Not at this point that I'm aware of, no.
I'm confused too, Madam Mayor, since we've been having these budget hearings. This is the first you've brought this up.
Well, I have just wanting to know this right now, that I've been getting these questions, and how is this going to happen? You know, he's going to have, they've asked me that Mr. Holder is being, well, let's just go ahead and say this. If Mr. Holder were to take both positions, that they had been told that he would have they would have a full-time economic director. Now, I've told them this, and you might correct it, Mr. Holder, if this is not something you can stand upon, that this is part of economic development, per se. Not in going out and getting business per se, but it is helping to get the businesses when we have the planning of the various parts of the city as to what kind of business we want here. And I've been working toward that, and he has assured me that that's going to happen. That this is a place where we're going to have this kind of zoning and that kind of zoning, so we won't have to have all these conditional uses perhaps. So I'm very much for having our economic director that we have chosen, or that's been chosen for us, but the funding is still up in the air for me and for some of the taxpayers in this town. So I just wondering if MEDI is thinking about how that position could be helped in being
Well,
funded.
I have no comment about that, but I'm a little taken back by, if this just came up yesterday by your
No, it
taxpayers.
did not come up just yesterday.
Okay, then I'm confused in why you haven't brought it to any of the
I thought-
budget hearings or anything.
If you
We have a
remember-
motion on the table to approve, and probably part of this discussion is not appropriate for the budget, but I will say I'm concerned about you not bringing this to the council for discussion. We've had at least 2 budget hearings and discussion on this, so
And we
I
had
don't know
one
why
that was
it's...
canceled, which I thought maybe was good. And I've had 2 discussions with Mr. Holter. I've been very
Mr. Holter is not the council.
No, he's not.
He has nothing to do with the
He's
budget.
the one that I've had to go to the taxpayers and say what kind of a job he's been doing. And it's been a very fine job. And so I'm trying to
Okay.
decide, is this going to be economic director or what? They wanted a full-time director. And if we are going to start funding another
I'll
place.
recommend we have a public hearing just for that, so we can get those that are concerned to come talk about it.
Okay,
And I
let's
don't
hope that
think
they
it's, well, Madam Mayor, again, I'm taken back by this discussion at this point. It's not appropriate to the budget. We have a motion on the table, it's been seconded, unless you want to make an amendment to the budget to change any of that. I think what you're bringing up is further down the list on the agenda, or...
Well, I was
at
just
a later
wondering
time.
about how much had been in the budget for that particular position too.
And
that's
I
what
don't
I've
believe, I believe the staff
Okay.
has said it has not changed since we started looking at this budget.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried. 5-0.
Mayor Olson, you're passing around a copy of the budget and have that signed by all council members.
We don't need to put a date on it, do we?
No, just one of those ones. Doesn't have to be in the order.
Talk about that.
He wants to. Exchange. Just the one copy here.
That's correct.
Is that it for you, Angela?
Yes, that's all I require.
Okay. Let's go on to number 10, Ed.
Good evening, council. In the last council meeting, we had an open discussion regarding modifying the sidewalk replacement repair program that the city's had in effect since 2000. This evening, I'm presenting for your consideration and approval resolution to modify that in the manner of extending it to commercial businesses in our revitalization zone. And I've made the recommendation of limiting the available funds to $500 per applicant on a first come, first served basis.
Do we have a budget amount for that too, if we get too many of you in 1 year?
Right now, we've got $3,000 a year that we do that, so that'd be 6 individuals that could take advantage of the full amount.
For that would be the whole city or just for this particular, for the downtown? For all of it,
For the entire city residential, and this resolution also then incorporates the property owners along the city revitalization program.
Do we have a motion or do we have some discussion?
Did the old resolution have a limit of how much money was available? I mean, this is 500 per request, but there's no max in the resolution.
It's not in the resolution, but in our budget,
Well,
that's
in
where
the
it
budget,
makes
but
out.
there's not in the resolution.
The old one didn't include that information either.
It did have a limit, but it was based upon square yards, was it?
Linear feet.
Linear feet.
The limit as far as the program states available funding. And it's reviewed at the beginning of the project and reviewed at the end of the project. Both places gives us the ability that if, based on the first come, first served, and we would timestamp the request coming in, then you'll be able to make the
So when
decision.
we run out of the $3,000, the next guy is out of luck.
That's correct.
Unless we vote to move some money around to resupply that.
No, that's another resolution.
Right now, it's just $3,000 I had to pass that to give to. Okay, any other questions or motion?
I move to approve resolution 13-09.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Now, are you going to be the one to go down there trying to convince them?
Got a lot of folks to talk to about that.
You're right.
And just so you're aware, part of the resolution, resolution 00-3, dated June 5th, is being repealed with this. Okay?
Okay, I guess you're up again.
Yes, I am. The next is a resolution for the continuance of the neighborhood revitalization program that the city of Marion has administered since 2002. It was renewed again in 2008. This is an interlocal agreement which parties involved are the county, which serves as our administrator for the program, the hospital board, and USD 408, of which all three at their board meetings have, board meeting and the commissioners meeting, have approved and signed expressed their intent to sign the interlocal agreement pending council's action this evening on the resolution. So I would respectfully request an adoption and approval of this, extending our existing revitalization incentive program through August of 2018.
Knowing that this is just for the main street we've talked about,
That's correct.
what about like Lee down there? He's just moved his business down a couple blocks there. It's off Main Street, about a block and a half. Would he be able to take advantage of that if it's in a commercial district or not?
No, he would not. However, he would be able to take advantage of the county-wide program.
County? Okay. That's right, you told me that.
Tax program. And I'll be glad if you'll refer them to me. I actually have copies of it.
Well, I was just thinking about that, and I forgot that we did talk about that a little bit, that they would be able to go to the county.
Correct. Through the county, they can get up to 5 years with abbreviated property tax.
Any other questions or approval?
Has this seen much use in the county and the city?
No, it has not. Another program. The county's program has been utilized more in the western part of our county than in the eastern. Similar to the sidewalk program, it may have been a well-kept secret. We'll be working on a marketing program.
That's what I was going to say. I think
Well, somebody ought to be able to put in the paper about the one we just passed, because I think that was a well-kept secret to replacement of sidewalks.
We plan to have it on the city site, but as with most business attributes, the more we just talk one-on-one, the word will get out. Make sure that we do market.
Motion for approval.
I so move resolution 13-10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Council.
You bet. Number 12.
The city had identified a property at 310 South First Street that was a target for demolition. Because of the way the ordinance was written, we felt it would be in the best interest of all parties to have an official waiver of the legal proceedings, public hearing, resolutions necessary for demolishing or ordering the demolition of the building, because the owner also agrees the building needs to be demolished. So with city attorney's assistance, you have a copy of a waiver which was signed by the owner of the property, agreeing to have the building torn down and removed no less than 120 days from the date of the waiver being executed, which was the 5th of August. Based upon that waiver, then the only other action per ordinance is for the city council to set and establish a date in which the structure would be removed. You've got a copy of that from the ordinance. My recommendation would be that the council concur and set a demolition completion date for December 5th, 2014.
Do I have a motion for that?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now number 13. As we've been discussing, we have to get a zoning administrator because of the resignation that we had at the last meeting. And Mr. Holder and I have been talking quite extensively as to things he's already done, and I have really appreciated it, Roger, the things that you're telling me that you're doing, and it sounds like you're on track, and some things that I really wanted to see, especially that mapping that you were talking about. And so, with that being said, I would move the appointment of the zoning administrator to be Mr. Holder. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there further discussion?
Now I think it's appropriate to have the discussion that you were mentioning, Mayor, and I'm not for sure, we may legal counsel advice on whether this position is a paid position or not, and whether or not the candidate you are proposing will accept the position without, with or without compensation. So is this something that should be done in an executive session?
Yes.
So I would recommend we not approve the appointment at this time and enter into an executive session to discuss this matter with the current city administrator, city attorney, and Mr. Holter. And I'm not making that a motion, I'm making that a suggestion to see if the council would agree before we
I think that's
do the appointment.
I know it's going to do it again. You want to move it?
I'll move it.
Okay, and I'll second to that motion. And for how long?
City meeting. 15 minutes.
15 minutes, start out. Is there further discussion? All those in favor of an executive session include those three parties and us, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 5-0. Actually withdrew my motion, did I? Okay. I will withdraw my motion to approve the zoning administrator at this time and restate it. I would like to move the appointment of Roger Holter as the zoning administrator with a compensation of $4,000 for this particular year. Would that be correct in saying that?
Per year as part of his salary structure.
Yeah, would that be what? Is there, if I get a second, maybe that's what
I'll second.
Okay. Then that would be the stated, you restate that for us, so make sure that everybody understands it.
Mayor Olson moved to appoint Roger Holter as zoning administrator with compensation of $4,000 per year as part of his salary structure. Height Schmidt seconded.
And Madam Mayor, we probably ought to add where it's coming from, just for clarification.
To be paid out of the zoning department, planning department.
Planning commission line item, salary line item.
Okay.
And I would like to also say that
Becoming part of the.
with compensation of an additional $4,000, so it's not, obviously we're not, his whole compensation for his responsibility here at the city are not tagged at $4,000, so.
I would agree.
Additional.
Okay.
Okay. Having that said, is there any questions about what I just went down? Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Holder.
Thank you very much.
And I know that we're already getting good things from that particular part, even though you haven't been compensated up to this point. Number 14, I have an appointment for the planning commission, and I think you all will know him. His name is Greg Carlson.
Mayor Olson, you've made that appointment. The appointment that's on the agenda tonight is just to correct Paul White's appointment actually expired at the end of 2012.
We did Greg's last time, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay, so this one is for Paul White.
This is for Paul White's. It's just to, he is appointed to a 3-year term, but when he was originally appointed, he was filling an unexpired 3-year term that would have ended 2012. So we just need to remake his appointment. That will end
2015.
It'll end at 2000. It'll run from 2013 through 2015 is the term.
13, 14, 15.
There weren't any close votes on the planning commission, were there, 2013, that you're aware of?
What did you
I'm not
say?
aware. I'd have to go back through the minutes. I wasn't at all the meetings.
As some folks in town like to be technical, if there was a close vote and he was not officially appointed,
No.
his vote would have not counted, so I guess we could make it retroactive as well.
Yeah, maybe
Just
do
a
that.
question.
Maybe I ought to do that. I would move that approval of that appointment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Do you
Second
want
by
me to
Todd.
include retroactive in that motion?
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carried. Now, we'll get down to the resignation. I have a resignation from Dale Johnson that says this letter is to give you my resignation as a member of the cemetery board as of the date of this letter. So I would move we accept his resignation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jerry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And I have instructed the group to be thinking about someone to recommend for that position. But if there's anybody that would like to fill in there, they should see me about serving on that board. And
Have you had a discussion with Mr. Johnson?
Yes,
Because I
I
know
have.
he's on the park board, but he
Yes,
still
but
intends to stay on the park board.
I haven't had that discussion with Boston
Okay.
Park Board. I just hate to lose him on this one. Going on to the next one, number 15, Angela.
I was recently going through the job descriptions that the council approved last year for our full-time positions and realized that for the water distribution operator, that was one job description that we never did take a look at. So I went ahead and presented that to the city administrator and also the utility supervisor. And this is what we've come up with. If council has any questions.
So who's currently doing this?
Clayton Garnick.
Okay, so he runs all of these different machines?
Yes, he does.
How about the street sweeper? That one as well?
So this is new?
It was in the books, we just updated it a little bit, changed the utility supervisor, used to be called the street supervisor. I think that's really all the changes that were made to this.
I would say that some of the water distribution doesn't pertain to some of these things, but maybe as long as he knows that what he's doing, it's fine. Any questions about that before we have approval?
I would move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the water distribution operator's job description. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 5-0. Okay, we're down to our department heads.
If I may make a opening statement, you will have noticed that the department head reports were expanded from previous reports that you may have seen. We also added a city clerk report as well as city staff, and that was intended to update the council, at least give them more information regarding the amount of work that the administrative staff does handle. And you'll also notice that the work orders have been expanded from our city crews with more detail of what happens on a daily basis.
Are they losing sleep or job time doing all of that?
It's a very small portion. We really feel as though it's good for both the crew and for the council to understand the amount of work that is accomplished on a daily basis by all your administrative and city crews that are out in the field.
I appreciate it, but you know what, I get more good out of those staff meetings and looking at those and seeing what's upcoming for you in the future. And because after that, I look for you to do the job of seeing that it gets done. So with that being said, I don't know, what did the rest of you feel? Do you feel like you want that as extensive report?
Can I say one thing on my reports? I like to do it with that detail because there are times when I have to go back and somebody will ask me when I actually did something or if I have to document something. So I use this a lot anyway.
You do? Okay.
Just not in that nice of a format normally.
Well, I marked a couple things on there, a couple things that you did that reminded me that you were doing, so that was good. Any other comments?
I love the idea because I do get a lot of questions about what does the city staff do. And a lot of folks remember when there was only one person in the office, not 3 or 4. So this is very beneficial.
I just don't like for them to have to spend their full time doing this kind of
Justifying
informative
their
thing.
jobs,
Right.
that's part of government.
Just read in the paper how this has become a sad part of school reports and all of the reports that they're giving to the state and federal government. Question?
In the manufacturing business, it's very standard to have reports. I've had all the way from bi-monthly, from as little as a quarterly, bi-monthly, every week. And it depends on what the management wants to know what's going on. And so I don't have a problem, that's what I'm going to say.
It's
I
kind
do
of-
like, we started the staff report when I first came on, and that's been helpful.
That's really much appreciated. It's kind of interesting about how much water we're using each day. And it's pretty-
Well, I think the summary of I've looked at this before, about how many work orders you got, how many resolved,
Any other for Marty or for Christian? Our chief of police, he has any other?
No, I don't have anything else, unless you'll have any questions.
Is your sign not working properly?
Sometimes it needs to be charged a little bit, so we're actually working on getting ready to move it. But every time the assistant chief and I talk about moving it, something happens, like grenades or something like that. So we were going to do it today, and then something else happened. So we just didn't haven't had to change it.
Move it without thinking about it, so you don't make something else.
I think so. I think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to wake up in the morning and just like. So we've been having a little. We've been dealing with the problems around, and we had a pretty. Could have been a real serious one today. And that's when Marion was talking about the BB guns or the airsoft gun deal. Today we go to a dog call, and I mean this is how serious it is. I go to a dog call to help Bryce out, or Officer Suffield, and on the way one of the dogs already got picked up, so I'm following the other one. We get back to our residence, and a very tall, angry man comes out in this yard and asked what I was doing. So I said, I'm going to pick this dog up and take it to Elma Healthcare Center because it's a dog at large. And he basically told me in different language that I wasn't going to do that. And so I backed my car up as he drug his dog to his backyard. Parked my car, and he came back out upset again. So I got out, and there wasn't any reason with him. Finally, Officer Suffield showed up, and he gave me his ticket book. So he asked me what I was going to do with that. I told him I was writing a ticket, and he told me to place the ticket someplace where I didn't want to put it. And so that turned into me going to my car to write the citation, which turned into, I heard Officer Suffield say, drop the gun, drop the gun. So Bryce and I both get out of the vehicles, and we have our weapons drawn on this subject. And it ended up going into the garage. The gentleman ended up getting tased as he was reaching for another gun. So the first gun happened to be a pellet gun, and the second one was a shotgun. He had 2 shotgun shells in his pocket. Things tend to be a little more serious than people think around here. And it's a good thing that we have the guys that we do on this department to help take care of these matters in a safe way. Because this situation could have been totally different. If you would have brought that muzzle of that pellet gun up and pointed at either Bryce or I, it could have been a whole different situation. So, luckily with the good thinking that we have with the guys in our department and the working relationship that we have with one another, the outcome, the guy still went to jail. All he got was a couple of probes in his front side. So, that's about it.
Over a dog at large.
Over a dog at large. And we've had problems with the same person before. I actually, during a city council meeting before, he had Mrs. Makovic very upset and crying. And so during the meeting, I just happened to go back there to see what was going on, and she was crying. So I answered the phone with this gentleman, and I told him if he didn't like it, then that's tough. So we've had problems with this guy before. But it doesn't need to come to something like that over something as little as that. So yes, the sign will be moved. Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
I've heard a lot of comments about how great the guys were picking up all the limbs from the last storm. They did that pretty fast. There were a lot of them.
Is there an opportunity maybe to make another pass, or consideration?
We still are.
Okay.
We would urge the public not to use this as an opportunity to
Bring
clear
every
every tree in their property and stick it out on front of their property. The trees that we feel that have been out, that we have maybe missed, we will pick up. But it is not a perpetual service that the city offers, and at some point we will, early this week, finish picking up anything that may be storm related, and it'll be the responsibility of the citizens or the homeowners to take it to the tree dump, which is easily accessible and usable.
You know, I have seen some that have shown signs of really a lot of weakness for trees that have come down part of it. Has there been any thought of getting with the owner as to the safety of the house next door to the street or anything like that?
Our greatest concern is protecting the infrastructure that the city puts up, especially your overhead lines. If it does look as though it's an imminent danger of bringing down lines, we will remove the danger. As far as homeowners responsible for their trees, they're responsible for their trees.
Any other questions? Angela, did you have any others besides?
I don't need to add anything to my written report.
Okay.
I have nothing to add. We've had a very busy couple weeks.
Yes, you have. I think you're going to have some more too from what I hear. Susan, did you hear anything that you want to talk to us about? Okay. That being said, let's see where we are now. Public forum.
Did Roger not have something?
Roger, are you public?
He's department head.
He's old. Roger, you have given me all of these good reports, so I guess I've talked to you so many times, I guess I just know it.
Okay, I've provided the council in this evening's packet an update as to where we are, as well as updates throughout the week. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Roger, have you heard anything about I'm getting questions about the big school property. Have you had any?
He is currently not moving forward with rebuilding plans. However, they are not, that's still his intention. It's just is not a timeline attached to a rebuilding.
Okay, there's sure a lot of people missing ice cream around this place too, including me. So I did want to ask you that, and I forgot to do that the other day when I was talking to you. All right, any other comments or questions for him? Now we're going to do that public forum. Okay, not seeing any public forum to be had, motion for adjournment. We'll adjourn.
Second.
Okay, moved and second. Jerry, you could be out of
I
that.
was getting ready to leave.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.